Hello and welcome to Indies on Indie. I'm your host, Patrick Poe. My house is full of cats and love each other. About 2 months ago, me and my wife decided that the feral cat problem in our neighborhood had gotten out of control. It started a year ago with one feral cat we called Darling. We'd seen her a couple times, and that was that. No worries. She was an adult and just running around being a cat. Totally fine. But then, a couple of months later, we see kittens on our back porch. 4 of them. And they're hanging around Darling, and it looks like she's their mother, and we start taking care of them. We decide we should try to help them out. We feed them a little bit. We hope eventually they'll love us for the food, they'll let us pick them up, and we'll take them home, and we will get them a warm home so they don't have to be out in the weather. That never happened. Winter came. 2 of them ended up dying. We assume they disappeared. Probably dead. Spring came. Darling had another litter. 4 more cats. So now we've got 7 cats running around the neighborhood. And we see the problem. It's getting worse. It's escalating. And then we get new neighbors. And when we meet them, the first question was, "So, you guys have some cats?" We explained that they're not our cats. Well, I mean, we feed them and we've been taking care of them, but like, they're not ours. But if you do catch them, we would help you home them. But they're not our cats. They're not our cats. So the next day, we get a knock on our front door. It's the new neighbor. "I think 3 of your cats are stuck in my storm drain." Not our cats. But yeah, I'll be over. So I've got 3 kittens. New kittens. Young, bottle-fed kittens that appeared out of nowhere. I assume they're probably kittens of one of the 7 feral cats running around the neighborhood. But we decided that since we've got these 3 kittens now in a room in our house, we might as well get the whole problem taken care of. And we start trapping the other cats. We become a part of a underground world I didn't know existed. The TNR world. Trap, neuter, release. We homed 5 kittens, and we TNR'd 4 feral adult cats. 9 cats in total. I was personally, with the help of my wife, running a cat shelter in my garage. It was insane. And now, besides seeing the adult cats running around the neighborhood, but I don't really worry about that because I know there's no cat hanky-panky going on, it's pretty much done. And I just want to say that people that TNR regularly are saints. It is so much work. It's its own job, and it costs money. And there are people that do this all over town for all sorts of cat colonies, and they're amazing. As I said in the beginning, my house was full of cats and love each other. I want you to love each other because September was National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and I want you to know that you're loved. And if you know that and you've got some love, maybe give some love to those who need it. Sometimes the to-do list for the day is just don't kill yourself. And that's okay. Just take the necessary steps to complete that goal. Live to the next day. Someone will be glad you did. Also, midterm elections were yesterday, or as today as I'm recording this right now. I'm actively watching the polls come in as they do as I'm recording this right now, which is a thing I've never done before, and I would have never thought of 8 years ago when I turned 18, and I didn't even want to register to vote. It's heartening, in fact, that people are engaged in the political system like never before. I mean, I was never as engaged as I am right now. I don't know who's won, as this is, I'm in the future talking to you, I guess, from the past. Some people are probably pissed that their person didn't win. They're feeling defeated. Other people are really happy that their person won. I don't know who that is, and just stay engaged, but do it with love. Just give and receive love. That's all I'm saying. I hope that's not too political a stance for this podcast. I'm not really a political person. Just love each other. Is that too hard to ask? Love each other? I don't know. All right. We've got a great conversation for you today. I've been excited about this interview since we recorded it, which was a bit ago. And we do talk about a fundraising campaign that was active then, and we discuss how long it'll still be active. Unfortunately, it's over now. But if you want to help out, make sure that you like their page, follow them on social media, watch the content they put out. All of those things are things that help us artists, and they're things we artists depend on. You just liking them, you just watching the videos, you being engaged in our content and our work. So go like Ben, go like Stack Deck Studios. And if you like them enough and you're kind of bummed that you missed the campaign, I'm sure you could just send them a check. I bet they'd love that. I don't think there's any artist out there that would be like upset if you just mailed them some money. They didn't ask me to say that. I just assume they'd want some money for their art if you are full of money and love their work. And this just seems like a good place to remind you as well to subscribe to this podcast right after telling you to follow another artist. I'm greedy asking for those follows, I guess. Follow Stack Deck, but also follow us. Subscribe to this podcast, like IX Productions on Facebook. Also, if you care to read my odd thoughts that I have, I just got a Twitter. I'm trying it out, seeing what's on the Twitterverse. Yeah, I'm joining the 10 years ago, apparently. You can follow me at Patrick R. Poe on Twitter. Or if you don't want to do any of that stuff, but you like this podcast, tell a person that. Tell 10 people. I don't know. Or maybe don't. You do you. You can watch Stack Deck's first film, Morbus Opus, now on Vimeo. They have a new film, Dark Traces, hopefully going to festivals soon. And like I said, this was a kind of an interesting interview that I did a bit ago because I wanted to talk about Dark Traces with Ben, but the film wasn't finished at the time. So he actually brought over a rough cut with him when he came to the basement, and he let me watch it. And the moment his film was over, we turned on the recorder and started our conversation. So I had literally seen the film seconds before, and I'm still processing it and thinking about it. But here you go. Here is me and co-founder of Stack Deck Studios, Ben Schatzel. So who did what making Dark Traces?
Who did what?
Yeah, I know because Morbus Opus was written and directed by, wasn't it? No, it was written by you and Cedric.
Right.
Directed by another guy.
Yes. So Cedric Hool, he and I wrote Morbus Opus, which was the first film, and then he and I pretty much wrote this as well.
Okay.
So it was pretty much the same writing team, and then there's a couple other people that the script went through, but in terms of like the idea creation and the crafting of the dialogue and all that good stuff, it was essentially him and I. And then Cody Semiakowski was the director for both projects.
Got it.
Lucas Cohen helped us shoot it, and then Wayne Gassman did audio, and Alexander Ellis did all of our music.
Is he going to score it again for Dark Traces then?
He is, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is he moving to LA?
Yeah, so from what I understand with him, he is doing kind of a temporary move out there.
Okay.
So he's going to finish out 2018.
Here?
In LA.
Oh, in LA.
So he's like there now.
Oh, is he?
He is, yeah.
Cool. I've been like hearing things about him moving and just didn't know. And so.
Right, yeah.
But he's there.
He is there. I think he just got there this week.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah,
good for him.
He's doing big things.
He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible.
And he's like the nicest dude ever, which
yes.
is cool. So
it is always great to meet someone who's incredibly talented and just a sweetheart of a human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're having him score it from afar then? Pretty much?
Like we've had extensive conversation of what we want the movie to sound like.
Yeah.
And tonally kind of what we're going to go with is a like techno synth meets jazz fusion.
that kind of makes sense for the film, though.
You think so?
I think so.
That's good to hear. Yeah, because it's a wacky combination that's way out there. But it's there's elements of like old school noir in there, and there's elements of like, near future sci-fi.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah. It's the genre is very undescript in a really nice way, I think.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. How did you meet the guy who has directed both of these? Morbus Opus.
College.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Cody and I actually were roommates.
Oh really?
But we just met at KU.
Okay.
Through various like acting classes and theater classes and stuff.
So is he doing theater at KU then too?
Well, he's graduated like
okay.
I am. But most of his background is with theater.
Got it.
And I mean, the interesting thing about him is like he kind of came into the art world wanting to be more of a producer and like push the progression of art and like finding ways to fund new projects and stuff. And like I think as like somebody who's solely an artist,
whenever you need those people.
Yeah, when you find somebody like that, you're just like, how can you make me money? How can you make this work? Because I have no idea how to do that. I just sometimes have crazy ideas for stories.
I mean, that's how I am. Like I've always wanted to be like an artist, and I always wanted to, and I was always told it's impossible. And so I kind of gave up, and then I met Lolo, who was like, no, we can do it, and these are ways to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, I need that in my life, because I have no direction artistically without someone being like, no, these are the progressions, these are the steps. And so it's very helpful to find that person.
Sure. And
when did you guys meet then?
It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah?
I would say 2016.
Was Morbus Opus like the first...
So yeah, Morbus...
big thing together?
So the interesting thing about Morbus Opus is really, it was kind of a newer project than Dark Traces was. We wrote the script for Dark Traces, and we like pretty much had it finalized and everything. And we looked at it and we're like, this is 15 pages of script. We've got like 5 locations here.
Yeah.
We've got a handful of actors, like characters. We need actors. There's like some visual
We're
stuff
in the
that we
woods
don't know.
At night.
Yeah, it's like we got this weird time. Like we're shooting at all sorts of, and we've never made a movie. So, like, I've acted in stuff, and I've written stuff, and Cedric has acted in stuff and written stuff.
But the two of you had never made a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, let's do something a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Morbus Opus came from.
Yeah, something way easier, like demons and period.
Supernatural and fantastical elements. So let's do that. But, I mean, that's, it's 2 characters, essentially 1 location. And...
yeah.
So, like, in terms of filmmaking, it was pulled back a little bit.
That's so funny to say that, because, like, I would never think of Morbus Opus as a simple project. You know what I mean? Like, looking at it and, like, looking at what you guys did in it, I wouldn't be like, yeah, that was the easy one they did. That was, like, the thing that they did because it was easier than the other thing they wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, that was... we ended up going a little bit further with it than probably we should have. But, I mean, it's interesting because the like, general commentary I hear from people is they're like, man, I just wish that was like twice as long or like 10 minutes longer or something. I wish
there's a little bit more to it.
Expanded on the story. I'm like, I wish that as well.
Yeah.
But the purpose of the project was so that we could get our feet wet. And it's like at a certain point, I was like, okay, this just needs to be a 6-minute film.
Yeah. And I think it works in 6 minutes. I think there's definitely more story you could tell.
Yeah.
But the story itself doesn't need any more.
Right.
You know what I mean? The story that you were telling doesn't need any more time to it.
I agree with you. I don't know if anybody listening this would want me to expand on the story of Morbus Opus, but it is just it's essentially like an early industrial age, like end of Enlightenment age, I guess. Turn of the century into the 20th century. There's a priest in a church, and a villager from his area comes to him late at night. He's been afflicted by some wound that was caused by a monster.
How did you pick that time period, and why that time period? I was just curious and I've seen Morbus Opus twice now, and the second time was the first time it like stuck out to me. But I thought it was interesting that he says he got off at the factory because like the setting of both the priest and like the clothes and the costuming and all of the verisimilitude of the project didn't read as something where factory would be a
Sure.
thing. And so I was just wondering like why you chose to make it this like flux period of like end of turn of the century, beginning of industrial age.
Yeah. Part of that had to do with the location.
Okay.
Just straight up. The location was built in 1907.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we can only date this so much. I mean, you're right. It is somewhat out of time. It's not like we have something pop up on the screen where it's like October 30th,
yeah.
1902. Like there's not really a time associated with it. But
you do get a feeling from the church and from the clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's very heavily implied, I suppose, that's what we're going with. And actually, we very specifically incorporated that line about him getting off the shift at the factory relatively close to the beginning of the film, because it's like, we want people to know where we are.
Okay.
In terms of time.
You wanted people to kind of understand that it's...
And it's like, yeah, he's not working at like a sewing mill or something. Like, this is probably an industrial steam factory of some kind.
So you put a lot of thought into that time period, but
we
not
did.
In the fact that like it was necessary to the story, but in the fact that it was specific. It was chosen.
Yeah, there was definitely a choice made there.
That's good.
I think I guess the best reason I could give is I think all horror films, the best ones in terms of like horror, supernatural, thriller, any of those types of stories, come from a place of social anxiety, and they're kind of a commentary on social anxiety. And I mean, like, the whole movie takes place in a church, so like there's already a ton of anxiety packed into that right there. But on top of that, like, most social anxiety takes place when there's big changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're seeing an influx of horror films now, is because there's a big shift on the cultural scene and on the societal scene.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of comedy and we're seeing a lot of horror, and a lot of it is really good.
But yeah, because you're 100% right that those are two things that are always reminiscent of the time period.
Sure, yeah.
Like if you look at like 80s horror, it's about like what was happening in that time. You know what I mean? They're incredibly influenced by the time because they're always speaking on the time. Just like old horror fairy tales. It's about what was happening in that time even.
Yeah. And that's what fascinates me on like a storytelling level with that genre, with the horror genre.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of always a time capsule. Like the film Get Out, like people will probably be watching that 50 years from now and they'll be like, this is, a commentary on what was going on in
that
2017, this
racially.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think there's more to unpack there even than just the racial tension, but yeah, that's definitely at the forefront of the film.
Yeah, that'd be the first thing that they're going to say. Yeah. So that's what's the name Morbus Opus? Where does it come from?
So that
it's obviously Latin.
It is Latin. It stands for death work.
That's what I thought
worker.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's because I was talking with my wife, and she was like, I don't know what that means, and I don't know if that influences like the knowledge of the film. And I was like, well, Morbus is death, and Opus is like work, so it's something in that. Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay. And then I didn't know if it was intended to like kind of tell more about the film, or I don't know where it...
So this is if I could, what I would love to do is turn this into like a 4-part miniseries and expand this into basically an hour's worth of content told over like 4 15-minute episodes. But not to turn my hand too much on the twist at the end, but essentially the main character, we find out that he's afflicted by some sort of disease or something is happening to him.
Yeah.
And he also has like this wound, and he's been attacked by something as well. So as the story goes forward, what his motivation would be is we find out that he is trying to find other people that have this so that he can try to find a cure.
Interesting.
And sometimes that means that he has to go out and take a demon form or a monster form and attack people, but that's for the ultimate goal of trying to find a cure.
Wow.
So that's his motivation.
Yeah.
But then the hero's motivation would be to not let people die.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where.
So there's a lot more story.
There. Yeah, I would love for that to maybe go somewhere. Whether or not that's ever going to happen, we'll see. But I would I would love to, you know, take that to somebody someday and be like, you think we could like
expand
some money
this
and like tell this story? And
yeah,
you know, that's where I would take it.
Where is the current Morbus Opus going? Is it still going around festival to festival? Are you planning on releasing it sometime online? What do you want to do with it?
It's kind of on the tail end of its festival run. I think we've got a couple more that we're waiting to hear back on for like the September, August, October time period. But I kind of just am ready to
You're ready for people to see it.
I'm ready for people to watch it and not have to go to like a random city at a certain time and sit in a theater very, you know, like I just want it to be available for general consumption. I think what I'm leaning towards is kind of the newer Amazon Studios platform.
Yeah.
For short, I mean that seems to be a pretty feasible way to like publish your short film. Just because I don't know how much traction it would get on YouTube, and Vimeo seems like something that only filmmakers care about.
Only filmmakers watch Vimeo. You're right. Yeah. You're 100% right. No one knows Vimeo except filmmakers.
Which is cool, but like I don't necessarily want to make films for filmmakers, you know what I mean?
And I also don't know if there are people on it watching films, if that makes sense. I think there are people on it posting films.
Yeah. Because it's like
Are people watching them? No. I've never scrolled Vimeo looking for something new to watch.
And I have once, and it was like really overwhelming. Because it was just like a bunch of films like jumping out at me, and it's just like went to this festival and won this and this and this, but that was like for every film, and there was just like thousands upon thousands.
And they're all this is gonna sound bad. They're all films for filmmakers. They're not enjoyable films, most of them. They're the movies that like they're very artistic. They're you know what I mean? They're not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of like fantastic films there. But
I'm sure.
Like, as just a dude who likes movies, I'm like, where do I even start?
Yes.
Like, it's just, I just got overwhelmed. And I want all of those filmmakers to have a great career. I want them to all work in Hollywood and make $1 million. But that just like spooked me. And I was like, this is a lot right now.
Yeah.
And I'm scared. So I like watched like 2 and I'm like, wow, that was awesome. I'm never going to be that good. And then closed out of Vimeo.
I like that idea. That's just like you watch Vimeo and you're like, yeah, I'm not on that level yet. Let's just leave Vimeo forever.
Yeah, just you know what? Good luck to them. I hope they have a great time. But I've apparently got some stuff I need to do personally. So let's just leave it at that, because this is kind of stressing me out right now.
I need to work on me right now.
I think I need to start with a shower and maybe like a good healthy meal, and then we'll see where that goes.
Maybe work out a little bit.
Jump back in the gym.
Improve myself. And
do more than 2 drafts on a script before I tell all my friends about it. Like, I don't know. Get a day job.
Are you bad about that? Because I'm the worst about that. I'll have an idea and be like, this is the new script. And I'll tell everyone the idea. And then it may or may not ever get written. But like once I have an idea for that week, oh, that's the most exciting thing ever. And I'll tell all my friends about it. And then like I'll be in a conversation like 6 months later and they'll be like, oh, what about that one thing you're working on? I was like, oh, I'm not working on that. I just was really into that thought for a week.
Yeah, it was just like a phase. I get those sometimes. Occasionally I'll like get a thought and like I know it's bad, but because I know it's bad, I want to like check with somebody. Like, what do you think about this? And then they'll be like, "That's bad," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. That's
right.
Bad.
That's as bad as I thought it was." Good, thank you.
So let's never talk about that again. And
can you pretend I never said that idea?
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, with the ideas that I like that I think are good, I'm almost the opposite way, where I'm like, "Here's an idea. I don't know. It might be pretty good," and somebody will be like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." I'm like, "Are you sure? Because it's like this and this and this, and
there are some problems.
It might not work actually."
Yeah. I'm with an idea that I like think might be good. I get really like, I'll say I have an idea. I'll like go to like Lolo or like my dad. I talk a lot of ideas with him or some other people that like are close friends. And I'll be like, I've got this idea, and they'll be like, oh, tell me more. And then I'll go, oh well, it's kind of a new idea. It's kind of like a baby idea. I don't know if it's not like ready for the light of day. I just wanted to tell you I was thinking about it, and then now you can just wonder for a couple hours. And then like
it's like a choose your own adventure type thing. Like you expand on it.
And then like maybe 10 minutes later, if I'm still thinking about it, I'm like, All right, so here's the idea. I know I wasn't going to tell you, and please remember, it's a new idea. It's a baby idea. I just thought of the idea, but like, can you hear the idea? And so like, even after I've told him I'm not going to tell him, I'm probably going to tell him,
Right?
Just because like I want to talk about it.
I just find that I'm often very bad at communicating thoughts that make perfect sense to me. Does that make sense? Like, I just don't know how to, like, make it into a language that's actually English, because I just think in terms of, like, colors and pictures. It's just like anarchy, basically. And then it's like trying to funnel that into an actual coherent sentence that makes sense to somebody. I'm not very good at.
It makes sense up here, I promise.
Yeah, it's like, if I was good at art, I could draw you a picture, but I'm not good at art. And I don't know, like, just sit here and I'm just going to throw stuff at you.
I'm just going to speak at you until you figure it out. It's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And thankfully, I work with people that are smarter than me, that can be like, okay, I think I know what you want, and it has nothing to do with anything you've been saying, but I think I know what you want.
So is that like what Cedric is for you? He's your translator, and is that...
Oftentimes, yeah. Oftentimes, Cedric and Cody will be like, okay, this is probably what you're actually wanting to do, and that's... I mean, like, with Dark Traces, like, I was just like, okay, so it's a noir film, but it takes place in the future.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's
but like
a basic
not like a
concept.
really far future. Like,
yeah, it's like right now, basically.
Like right now, but like maybe like 6 months, 10 months from now.
Yeah, like
but
maybe next year, but who knows? Like,
but yeah.
All of this could... Exactly.
But it feels like
that,
the 50s.
And like that is a tough thing to explain, and I was like trying to explain the music composition at the same time, and like what it should look like stylistically, and like what the characters would be, and all of it is like very...
Well, yeah, because like your character is right out of like a classic noir, and then like Cedric's character is such a modern character. Like it's almost like a modern archetype of that like tech character.
He's very much inspired by like the Oracle from Batman. Or, like what was the... I don't even remember.
Or
his
any
name
of those
now.
like man in chair characters on any
like,
of those superhero TV shows right now.
There was like a great character from James Bond. It was like the hip, trendy millennial.
Q.
Yeah, Q. Yeah. Like that. You know, that character. You're right. That is a very modern archetype that it probably has only existed for a couple decades.
Yeah, exactly. And so having the two of them in a room together just like is intrinsically interesting to look at. You know what I mean? I don't know. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's just it's different, and those aren't characters you see together. And so, I don't know. Just intrinsically, your script is original in that weird way. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I mean, it makes it kind of difficult to describe, but I think once you see it close, I mean, you didn't see the final product, but once you see it close to the final product, it's like, oh, okay.
It does work.
That's, and I mean,
like Ben isn't crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy, but maybe
the anarchy might work. Yeah.
I found that the film ended up being like funnier than I thought it was going to be. I think
that's something that like I find everything hilarious. Just intrinsically, I find it all funny, and that's probably bad for a person that makes comedies because I think every joke is amazing.
Right.
Like every joke's the funniest joke ever. But so watching it with you in the room, especially, I was like, can I laugh?
Oh,
like if I, you get that like, is it supposed? That was a joke, right? I hope you meant that to be a joke because that's funny. Like that's a good bit.
Yeah, I think there's a couple times where the film is like, was that a joke? But then I think there's a couple times where you can tell that was that it was very clearly funny, and I think we have enough of those times to where you're wondering if it's funny, you're like, okay, well, I've laughed before, so it's probably fine to laugh now.
And that's how I was getting with it. By the end, I was like, oh yeah, I can laugh at this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He did intend those jokes. Good.
Yeah,
so I like that.
I know, like every writer has like different rules that they kind of go by in terms of writing. One of the big ones that I try to stick with is no matter what genre of story I'm telling or like what the story is, if I get the impulse to write a joke, I will write it and keep it in the script until I have to take it out. Just because like you know, comedy happens in everyday life. Like I think a car wreck is always a funny thing. And like some of the worst stuff is like, I think the higher the drama, the higher the natural comedy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, sometimes something's really funny and then you think about it and you're like, that was awful. I shouldn't be laughing about
that shouldn't have been funny.
The fact that you think that makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
So, That's kind of something I try to stick by. I don't like to say, oh, we're not gonna let people.
We're not gonna have jokes in this because this is the noir
really
piece.
We're gonna make people cry.
Yeah,
which I want that too. But like,
yeah,
I want people to like. People just like to laugh, so whatever.
And like the your day-to-day life isn't a monotonal emotion.
Right.
Like you go from minutes to minutes of like, oh, this is the funny bit today. God, this cat.
This cat's just like doing laps around the table. This is
his favorite thing that I do, I think, is the podcast because he usually just sits right here and he thinks the podcast.
He's the star.
Yeah.
He's the star, yeah.
Yeah. Grayson's the star of the podcast. He's here.
He's a diva.
To be looked at while people talk. That's his purpose in life.
I'm about it. You should be in a Fancy Feast commercial or something.
Oh, he wishes.
Yeah.
He wishes. He's in our new movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The feature?
The way it goes.
Right on.
Yep. Him and the other one over there, Sky, are both going to be in it. Initially, we thought just him, and then when we took him to location, he kind of got finicky not being with another cat.
Other animals, yeah.
Because he's never lived in a world where there was no other cats.
Okay.
And so we realized it was way easier to have him on set if we had a second cat. And then we're like, we should have 2 cats in the movie.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And so we do.
Yeah.
But
30 cats in the movie. Just make it a cat movie.
Just make the whole movie about cats.
I think what you should do is do a spin-off for The Way It Goes, and it's just centered on like those two, and it's like a buddy cop movie.
That sounds amazing. I would love that movie. And we just film live cats though.
Yeah.
And then we just have voices over them like, look who's talking.
Yeah.
But with cats.
And then like it has nothing to do with The Way It Goes. Like you have one character come back at the very end and it's just like, what are you guys doing outside and why do you have police uniforms? And like chases them back into the house and that's the end.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So this is the anarchy that's normally in your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Live action buddy cop films with cats.
Yeah, I would love it. I actually, has nothing to do with anything. If I could like be a Hollywood TV producer like today, there would be a buddy cop TV show on like HBO that is Danny DeVito and Steve Buscemi.
Oh my God, I would watch that. I would watch the shit out of that.
I just like randomly thought of that like 5 years ago, and since then I'm like, why is that not a thing right now?
Why isn't that a thing right now?
And they're just like, I think they should be cops on like a college campus, and they just like break up frat parties. And like, it doesn't get any smarter than that. Like the show's not smart, it's not.
It doesn't need it,
and it doesn't need to be. It's just Steve Buscemi smoking cigarettes and looking like a cigarette.
Barely needs a plot. Like, if it's the two of them in a cop car, I'm gonna watch it. Like, I don't care if they ever leave the cop car. I don't give a shit. Like,
it could just be 25 minutes of knock knock jokes every episode, and that would be fine.
Oh, that would get views. You should be a Hollywood producer just from that idea. I'd hire you.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and copy. Once I leave this, I'm going to go to the
copyright. Can you copyright the idea of just 2 actors?
Just 2 guys and like a very basic premise that has already been done 300 times.
It's a plot, but these 2 guys are cast. If it ever happens,
it has to be those 2. Yeah. It's like, I don't want that type. I want that person.
Yeah. Like sometime you get like Danny DeVito and some other guy. You're like, nope, I guess I can't sue him. It's a different guy.
Damn, they tricked me.
They tricked me. It's just a Steve Buscemi lookalike. Oh man. But no, so we're talking about genre because like, yeah, like 1 minute you're just like riffing on Steve Buscemi and Danny DeVito. And like a couple minutes later, like who knows, you could be talking about something very intense. And so like there is variation of emotion in life.
Absolutely.
And so I think anyone who's like, no, this is the dark story where this guy's life is just dark always. But also the people that are like, this is just funny. Everything's funny constantly. It's not always funny. It's not always dark. It's just real. This is life.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't love to get overly caught up in
genre
or like slice of life stories, but I think every story needs to have like a human quality to it. Like we go to the movies not because we like these actors or like we love these stories. We go to the movies to see ourselves.
Yeah.
And like see cool shit happen.
Yeah.
But mostly to see ourselves and like see something that we relate to, that we connect with. And it's like,
yeah, because even like the stories where like cool shit happens, like I'll use Transformers as the most basic example of a movie where it's spectacle. It's a movie about cool shit happening.
Sure, yeah.
The reason filmmakers shit, or like a lot of general public shit on those movies as not being good films, is because cool shit happens, but they're not easy to connect with in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Where like movies like, I think Amazing Spider-Man is an amazing movie. The one with Andrew Garfield.
The first Andrew Garfield one? Okay.
I think it is because I think it's a good human story. And it happens to have Spider-Man and cool shit happens.
I do. I think the worst Spider-Man movies are the ones I like the most, is what I've found. Except for Spider-Man 2, which I just love. But like, I will defend Spider-Man 3 day in and day out.
Yeah?
And I'll sit here and be like, it was actually a great movie. And the studio pushed Venom being in it. And if you look past that, and like I find myself apologizing for a movie that I had nothing to do with.
You didn't make it all.
I got no money from and I did nothing about. And like I just watched it a couple of times and that's it. As a kid when I didn't even know anything about movies. And I'm like, no, it's great. It's really good actually. And who didn't want to cast Eric Foreman as Venom?
Oh man. Yeah, that's totally fine. I do that too. I'll defend a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And I'll even defend movies and be like, okay, yeah, I've seen it since, but you know what? When I was 6 and I watched it, it was the best film I'd ever seen. Like, and that was good enough for me, and it's good enough for me now to still go watch it and enjoy it. I don't care.
There are very few movies that I just don't like. Like, I think I can find something that I like about almost every movie. I just really enjoy movies, and I think that it's kind of pointless to get wrapped up in the aspect of like this is a bad movie or this is a good movie. Like, yeah, obviously there's a difference between good movies and bad movies and mediocre movies and all right movies, but I mean a movie that's like historically bad almost makes it great because everybody has, like, you give a shit. Like, even if it's bad, you give a shit. I think the worst kind of movie is just a movie that you forgot happened.
Yes.
Like, that's, as a filmmaker, it's like, I would rather make a terrible movie that everybody gives a shit about.
Everybody remembers and talks about.
Yeah, than just something where it's like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Did I see that? I don't remember. What was the
it was something
plot
about Danny
of
DeVito
that?
and the stupid Shemmy, and I don't remember.
yeah. I think they were in it. Who knows? They might have been cops. I'm not sure.
Whatever. Like, I wouldn't want that. I wanted to be like, yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
But it was like comically awful.
Yeah.
Or something,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like, good and bad are very loose terms in any art form, because you can say like, yeah, they like did the formula of like what's supposed to be good. Like, they set up their story quickly, they like got in, you know what I mean? Like,
the characters were there, the story made sense. Yeah,
the characters were developed, there was a clear plot, like it was easy to follow, like all of that. But at the end of the day, did you enjoy watching it? Did you get something out of it? Are you gonna think about it tomorrow? Like, you may still even Spider-Man 3. Like, we're talking about Spider-Man 3. What is this? 15 years later?
Right, yeah.
Like, who gives a shit that, like, you thought Venom was shoehorned into the film? Like, I'll also defend Spider-Man 3. Like, the Sandman plot was interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
I enjoyed seeing Spider-Man in the black suit. Like, even that was just enjoyable on the big screen. Like,
emo Spider-Man? Yeah,
emo Spider-Man. I liked it.
Yeah.
Because I was a little kid that liked Spider-Man. Like, I don't care if the movie is kind of hard to follow and there's too much going on and it's like a little disjointed. Who gives a shit?
Tobey Maguire's like 28 and just got out of high school. Like, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Whatever.
Yeah. Does the movie is it still enjoyable to watch? Kinda, yeah. Or like, am I gonna have nostalgia for watching it? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Will somebody else that watches it tomorrow that's not a filmmaker like it? Probably. And like, so my mom is she has the worst taste in movies.
I love those people.
And I love her for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because like, we went and saw Justice League and I was like, oh, that was, oh. And she got out of the theater and was like, I loved it. I was like, really, Mom? She was like, yeah, like there was Superman, there was Batman, and there were all these characters, and they were flying around doing stuff, and they saved the day. And I was like, guess you're right. And so she enjoyed it. Like, we as filmmakers probably are like, well, we see all these flaws in it, but she just sees a bunch of cool characters doing cool shit. Maybe she relates the story or not, I don't know, but she liked it. And so who cares?
Yeah, whatever. If you're going to pay $10 to go see a movie, have a fun time.
Exactly. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it in however you want. Enjoy it because it's funny. Enjoy it because it's scary. enjoy it because there's weird CGI things flying around.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I definitely think that's the case with that could be a generational thing as well, where it's like just the technology that's put into it, and like, you know, the attention to detail, even in a you know, kind of a weird, you know, superhero flick or Transformers flick or something. It's like, wow, that's, you know, they focused on building the world and stuff, and just that is fun.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, you go back, I love the Ghostbusters movies, but like, I just remember when Rick Moranis' character it opens the fridge, and it's like
And there's like, yeah.
and it's like just this weird, like, this kind of practical, kind of model-y effect that they did, and it's like, wow, that is terrifyingly cheap, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
But that was like the gold standard.
Yeah.
And that was not that long ago, really.
You're right.
So
30 years.
30 years.
30
maybe.
years.
And
We've come so far.
yeah.
And some of it's been good, some of it's been bad.
Yeah, we got Eric Foreman as Venom, so whatever. I think that's the new gold standard.
I hope the new Tom Hardy Venom just has Eric Foreman in it. I think that would make it better. And Red
Isn't
comes
Eric
in.
Foreman like a Nazi leader, or no, a KKK leader, Klansman now?
No shit.
Yeah, he's coming out with a movie with Spike Lee, and he's like a.
Oh, is he in Black Klansman?
He's in Black Klansman. He's like the Grand Wizard?
I think they're the Great Dragon. I don't know.
I guess I'm glad I don't know that much about the
KKK
hierarchy. But yeah, that's like him. He's like the dude.
That's crazy. I haven't seen a trailer for it yet. I just know there are some movies that I know I'm going to go see, and when I hear the trailer comes out, I'm just like, I'm going to see that. I don't need to.
That's how I am most of the time. With like all film promotional stuff, it's like once I'm sold that I'm going to go see a movie, I don't need to like keep up with every trailer that comes out, every like rumor mill thing. Like once I'm sold, I'm seeing it. I'm like, cool. Like Solo. I think I watched every trailer for Solo because I was never sold on it. And then finally I was like, maybe I'll check it out on DVD, whatever. Like, I still haven't seen it. But like a film that I know is going to be awesome, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to
see that trailer.
Go out of my way to check it. I'm going to see the movie whenever it comes out. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to see a lot more movies in theaters recently. And like, I used to be like obsessed with trailers. Mm-hmm. Like as a kid, I would kind of throw a fit if we weren't early enough to see the trailers.
Oh, yeah.
And like, even like as a young adolescent adult, like dating Lolo, if we were late to a movie, that ruins the date for me. Like if we don't see the previews, we might as well not have gone.
Yeah.
Like I have said that in an argument to like two people. I've been like, well, if we're not going to see the trailers, we should just stay home. We're just going to stay home instead of see the trailers. And she's like, we could see the movie. Like, not worth it. I'm just gonna stay home. Why go? Why go? If you're gonna spend the $7 to $10 to see the movie, you better get the previews.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Like,
and I love seeing previews for indie films because it's always like films that I probably otherwise wouldn't have, been on the radar for. It's like, that's why I love seeing indie films in theaters. Is because like you get all of the other, it's like then it's like almost like a rabbit hole. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go see that indie movie, and then you go that and you see like 10 other trailers for indie movies that look cool, and
and then there's a point where like you've done that enough that you get to see the same trailer for a couple indie films, and you're like, oh, I'm winning at this,
because
I've heard of these.
It's really I don't know. I kind of wish for that reason I never started watching indie films because then I probably wouldn't get stressed out about it. Because I'm like trying to watch everything now, but it's good. It's great.
But like, I even wish we got more in town though, because like in Kansas City, we don't get all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot that miss us, which is always heartbreaking. Like
it is
when Josh Rander's newest film, which that's 5 years ago, Liberal Arts. Have you seen that?
Have I? I don't believe I have.
It's do you know who Josh Rander is? He's the lead from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I do know.
He made a movie called Liberal Arts where he wrote and directed it and starred in it, and I'm obsessed with his first film, Happy Thank You More Please. It's one of my top films.
I didn't even know that he was doing stuff on the indie film level.
Yeah. And when Liberal Arts came out, it was like in select theaters, and the closest theater to us showing it was in St. Louis.
Oh wow!
And I was real close to driving 4 hours to see that film in theaters. And then Lola was like, that's insane, Patrick. Just wait for the DVD.
That's crazy. I would think that he would have enough name recognition to
You'd think
get something produced on little bit more national release, but
Unfortunately, no.
I do know it gets really weird with how distribution works for like movie theaters, because
Yeah.
I think like movie theaters have to like put a bid for how much they're willing to pay. It's like weird, and it's not something I want to learn anymore about because it's confusing.
Yeah, it's a thing that you make Cody do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, Cody, look into
That's
that.
a Cody thing.
and he'll probably come back and be like, okay, here's everything you need to know. And they'll be like, what's the 1 sentence version of all this? Cody?
And then you're like, do I need to know any of it, or can I just tell you about Steve Buscemi and Danny DeVito?
Yeah, exactly. Although I will say, like, Cody is actually fantastic about like finding ways to communicate things to me, even though I'm terrible at paying attention and stuff. So yeah, it's probably the same with you and Lolo. Like you need that dichotomy.
Yes, you need the person that has some organization. Like when you filled out the release form, you're like, is this my address? I'm like, I don't know, just do what it says. Like I didn't make the release form, she did. Like
yeah. So whatever. If I need to come back sometime and do another release form, then that's just gonna be what happens. We'll do another podcast.
Do a whole other podcast just for the release form. Yeah.
It's just gonna be me confused about the whole thing.
We'll get Lolo and Cody to talk about the release forms.
Perfect. And we'll just dig around.
We'll just stick around. Yeah. Talk about Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
Even better.
So I feel like you're somewhat recent into getting into film. Am I incorrect? Like as a filmmaker yourself?
Yeah, like as a filmmaker, that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Because I came through all of this vis-a-vis the acting world.
But it seems like you're a huge movie nerd.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just maybe you have a similar experience, but when you see movies and you think about like, wow, there's people that do this every day and they, their life is to make these movies, you kind of get like mystified and you're like, maybe I could do that someday. Like even on like an indie level, you're just like, I don't know, that it seems like not unobtainable, but just like, where do I even start?
Yes.
Kind of thing. And
so did theater seem more grounded for you then? Is that why you like sought theater? Or
I think it was more immediately accessible, at least to participate in theater. But once, as an actor, once I started acting in some, independent like short films that went to festivals, and then I worked on a feature that maybe we'll get some sort of...
What feature?
It's actually a parody of the Pitch Perfect movies.
Oh yeah, I know of that.
Yeah, so I don't know what the story is on that.
Done by the Vedder brothers.
Yeah, I don't want to give out any sort of bad information on that, but maybe it'll have some sort of like wider release than just film festivals. And so
how did you get involved in that? Was it because you were at KU, or like, I mean, how did that find you?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Wesley Elder was the producer behind it, one of the producers behind it. And he did, there's the cat again.
Yeah, he's back.
So they have a film on Netflix right now called The Matchbreaker, which is a really
he stars
film.
In.
Yeah, he's the male lead, but it's an interesting film because the female lead is Christina Grimmie, who is that, big upcoming pop singer or, vocalist that
got unfortunately
murdered,
killed
a couple years ago. So, but they got that on Netflix, and they that movie got some traction, and so this film came out. They were shooting the following year. It kind of matched up with the release of Matchbreaker was the actual primary photography for this Pitch Perfect thing. And literally he just hit me up on Facebook, and he's like, hey man, I want to have you on this thing. And I was like, okay. And probably as an actor, like, there's so many reasons you shouldn't do that. Like, just follow people that find you on the internet into their projects. But I'm so glad I did, because it was like one of the greatest experiences I've had as an actor. And it was just it's a comedy, and I love comedies. And it was just a lot of fun. There was a bunch of cool people working on it. And I was like, wow, making a movie is really hard.
But it's doable.
But there's people doing it.
Yeah.
That, aren't named Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese or whatever. Like, there's people in Kansas City doing it, and like doing it on a very legitimate level.
Yeah.
So this is possible. And I think that was kind of something that catalyzed. That was the point in time when I actually started writing Dark Traces. So this all ties together somehow. There's there's different pieces that all link together here. That's when I started writing Dark Traces. I was like, I'm just going to do a short. Fine. I don't know that much about writing, but I'll write a character that I know I can play. and I'll write a character that I know Cedric can probably play.
At what point did you meet Cedric? Did you guys meet at KU then too? Or?
Yeah, that was actually right around the same time.
Okay.
So,
did he go to KU?
What's that?
Did he go to KU?
He did. Yeah.
Okay. Look at all the people that are down in KU I don't even know about.
Yeah. He and he had, I think, I'm trying to make sure I get all my facts right here. I believe that's kind of when he was starting his career.
Okay.
So he had just signed with an agent in Kansas City, and he was kind of getting in a little bit more film work as well. And I was like, you know what? Even if this sucks, like, we'll have fun.
Yeah. So you guys were good friends at the time.
Yeah. So we were pretty good friends, and I was like, you know what? We'll very least, like, this will be something that we could put on our acting reels, and maybe this could help us out somehow. So it definitely won't hurt anything if we give it a shot. And then, And then we're like, okay, let's do another film first, because that's a natural thing. That's how you get sucked in. You're like, let's do this film, but then let's do this, and then we'll do this. And it's like, I think that's how I became a filmmaker. Yeah. It's just like, now that I've told this story, I want to tell every story.
That's what, okay, so we made Intermission too many years ago at this point, a while ago. But when we finished Intermission, me and Lolo were in her basement of her dad's house at the time, and we weren't, we just maybe started dating or something.
Like her dad at the time, or?
No, the house at the time. But I'm saying we weren't living together yet. Even we weren't even like really like I think we might have been dating or something. Yeah, we were dating, and we were editing Intermission, and we were just talking about how great the experience of making our first film was, making Intermission. We're like, man, I really want to do that again. I really want to be filming again. Mm-hmm. And then we were like, well, what if we just made another movie?
Yeah.
And then we just started writing a movie around kind of the characters that, most of the characters of people that were in Intermission. We were like, all right, well, we love all those people. We liked working together. Like, let's make another movie together with all those people in it. And so we wrote Mr. Lee, and then we made it. And then while we were making it, we're like, we've got to make another one after this. And so that kind of became like our thing. We just make feature films.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's how you become a filmmaker. You make one.
Honestly have hats off to you, because like a feature film is super ambitious. So like the fact that you could actually see something like that through to completion, like I'm telling you, like a 13-15 minute thing, that stresses me out enough. I can't imagine trying to like even just write a script for a feature.
I mean, the first couple were sloppy. I'll just let you know that.
I do, but yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, I think it's a matter of just diving in.
It's just, you just do it once, and then eventually you're like, this is what I do now. Mm-hmm. And then you've done it for long enough that you're like, well, I've got to become successful at it. Because at this point, I've sunk a lot of manpower into it.
Yeah, I can't suck at this. If I keep trying, I can't suck at it forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, man. So at what point did you and Cedric decide, like, that is it the two of you are Stack Deck Studios? Is that true?
It was kind of a loose conglomerate, I guess. It's primarily he, Cody, and I.
Okay.
And then Lucas, Wayne, and Alex would be like kind of in the immediate sidecar of the Stack
They're
Deck
definitely
Studios
working
motorcycle.
on a project.
Yeah,
with
like
yeah.
If they are interested and available, then they are more than welcome. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's tough to get everybody together all the time.
Yes.
So, pretty much any project that is like has the Stack Deck Studios banner on it will at least definitely have Cody, Cedric, and I involved somehow.
Okay.
And then as far as like Morbus Opus and Dark Traces,
it had all of you.
Yeah, it had all of those guys that I just mentioned. Nicole Hobbs is a makeup artist that also helped us on both films. And I believe that's everybody that's worked on both of our shorts.
Yeah.
I believe. I don't know.
So you had the idea for Dark Traces, and you were like writing it up, and then you're like, this is too much. Let's do Morbus Opus. At what point were you like, all right, my buddy Cody's going to direct these films that I'm writing? Or like, when did he realize like directing was the thing that like was his strong suit and his skill? Or when were you, or did you ask him to do it? Or was he like, hey, if you're doing this, like, I'm going to help you?
I mean,
I'm just intrigued.
Yeah. He's a little bit more green to the world of directing as well. But it has to do, I mean, he had the similar motivation as Cedric and I, where it's like, we want to write something. Cody's wanted to direct something for a while. And he's directed theater plenty of times, and I think he's got a knack for directing.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to like see what an honest performance looks like from an actor. He's able to like kind of see the big picture of things. So I mean, it was a role that kind of just made sense for him, I think, and he understood what we were trying to do in terms of a writer, so he was just there for that whole process.
Yeah.
You know, that was just
So he gets the story because he's been around it for
exactly. Like
months.
He can see the pieces come together because he was watching the pieces come together. He knew, so it just made sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, maybe we could have like hired a different director or something, but why?
Yeah, no. I was just I was just curious on like at what point you were like this is the core. This is the team. We're going to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And then like so it's the three of you at this point, right? Cedric and you and Cody.
Right.
And you're like we've written this thing. Cody's going to direct this thing. We're going to act in it. How did you make that next step though of like all right, how do we make a movie? Like an actual like how do we film this? What are we going to use to film it? Like how are we going to make any of these decisions? Do we need to hire a DP? Do we need to like what did you do to like make that first movie real?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I guess, just like a domino effect of random things. And it was like, Cedric had worked on a couple projects with Lucas, and those two had kind of become pretty decent friends. And I think the story is like Cedric, let me backtrack a little bit. It took us forever to find a location for Morbus Opus. Let me start with that. So
you found a location before you even thought about filming it?
No, so we did not. We should have. But for whatever reason, I was just like, okay, like in March, I was like, we're going to do production mid-July.
Okay.
And I just decided that's when we were going to do production. And so it's like the end of May, and we don't have a location. And like we had a couple locations, they all kind of fell through. Most of the churches around town didn't want us to shoot a horror movie, kind of somewhat potentially putting a religious figurehead in bad light in their church.
Yeah.
Which is totally understandable and not something that I thought about ahead of time. And thankfully, this place that we used was like super cool with it, and they kind of understood what we were going for, and they understood we weren't trying to bash religion or anything. And you know, they got it, which was awesome. But that became the primary focus for a while, and I was like, we were all still at KU, so we had like the IFC, and we had KU, which does like gear rentals and stuff. So we had like gear at our disposal if we needed to. But we were all wrapped up in like, how are we going to get props, costumes, location, like all of the production design elements.
You're used to theater. You're like, we need the things that would make a show.
Exactly. Like, and that's kind of what I was attacking it from. Cause I'm like, it's, you know, we decided to put this in a time period because of course we did. Yeah. So now we have to commit to it. And if we don't commit to it, then the whole illusion's going to shatter. And it's not even going to have any value. So like I was trying to pay attention to all the details, and like we were trying to make this happen, and like Cedric runs into Lucas at the gym one day, and at this point Lucas had been primarily doing like wedding videography and wedding photography for a while, and Lucas is like, yeah, you know, man, I haven't done anything for, you know, a little while at this point. I guess the two of them had worked on like a short film year prior, and Lucas had kind of been out of the game for a little bit in terms of narrative work. So he'd done like, you know, some wedding stuff, and he'd done some commercial work, but he was kind of looking to get back into storytelling type stuff. And Cedric was like, hey, we got this crazy thing about a church and whatever, and it'll be like a day shoot. And so Lucas kind of decided that he was interested in doing it. And then once he read the script and stuff, like he got invested, and he was like throwing ideas out, and he kind of became part of the process. And he pulled on Wayne to do the audio, who was also super helpful and has all sorts of knowledge about film and movies, and also has experience as a director of photography. So like between the two of them, they kind of just were able to square up all the shots and make it look and sound good. Yeah. And Wayne knew Alex Ellis because they had worked on a feature together like earlier that summer.
Got it.
So
Brutal 9?
Yeah, Brutal 9.
Cool.
So like Wayne had shot Brutal 9, and Alex had like helped on the score with it, or maybe he did the full score.
He did the full score. Yeah.
So like we just kind of found these people that were all way better at making movies than we were.
Yeah. So that's like a funny, weird thing. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just want to like, I'm going to throw that out there because I worry about it a lot, and I feel like sometimes I sound like a dick. I'm not trying to be a dick.
Okay.
But it's amazing and impressive and surprising. That for like your first like 2 films, you do have these like, as new filmmakers or seemingly new filmmakers, your films don't seem like they're made by new filmmakers because they're gorgeous, because somehow you like lucked into all of this wonderful crew with this wonderful gear that's just so helpful to telling your story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like I've just been curious of like, how did this happen? Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, like I said, there was a domino effect to it. Like,
Yeah.
things happen, but like, who cares?
but
This is
but
where
it wasn't
we are
like
now.
it wasn't what you but it wasn't what you were like seeking out. You didn't like, and I just like for some reason I applaud you more and I like you more because of it. It wasn't like you're like, we're gonna make a movie, so we have like a bunch of money and we're gonna hire this great DP because all that we care about is how it looks. You were just buddies with a guy who happened to be a kick-ass DP.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you honestly, some of the worst movies I've seen are
those
on
movies.
The indie,
That's what I'm saying.
on the indie level, some of the worst movies I've seen are done with like the most expensive gear on the market.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
So like I'm so used to seeing like on the indie scene, on the indie like world, and I've gone to like gone to a handful of festivals, to humble brag, with my movies and like watched a bunch of indie films. I know I don't have great gear, but I'm an okay storyteller. Is what that's where I'd place myself. Is I'm a pretty okay storyteller with lower end gear to almost mediocre, but barely.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of films that I'll admit are like frustrating to me, that are films that are shot beautifully, but then they've got like no story, and you're like, oh, this is a person who either put all their money into their gear, or had a story and then hired someone to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I get frustrated for some reason about people who like spend too much money to make their movie.
Right. I think I understand what
do you know
you're
what I'm trying
getting
to
at.
yeah. I'm not expressing it well, but it's usually frustrating.
I'm with you on this path that we're
Yeah.
walking down. I get you. Like I said, I mean, some of the worst
So
movies I've seen, I think, are the most expensive indie films I've seen, and some of the best indie films I've seen were like shot on very limited gear, and like, I mean, that doesn't mean they look bad, but
Yeah.
just like I've talked to filmmakers afterwards, like, oh yeah, I've shot like half of that on my phone or something. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Really, that was so smart, and it looked good, and like I was engaged, and
you're
I was
like,
there.
the phone footage didn't matter.
Yeah,
You're like,
I wasn't even
care.
thinking
I
about
wasn't
that
thinking
when I
about
watched
that.
it. Yeah.
I was thinking about the story and how it's good, and like the characters and all this other stuff. And like, obviously, it's a visual medium. The camera
Sure.
matters. What you're showing matters. But story is king because it's a storytelling art form.
Yeah.
Like at some point, the gear does and doesn't matter.
And I think I mean, like I was mentioning with like the location, the props, and the costumes, I think there's productive elements that need to be thought through in a film
That have to be,
aren't
definitely.
just the lighting and the camera. And like, yeah,
Yes.
that's important. But I mean, like my favorite film from last year, which somehow is contentious despite the fact that it won Best Picture, was Shape of Water. And I was like, the production design on that was
The
through
production
roof.
design was incredible.
And like, not just because it cost a lot of money, yeah, I'm sure it cost a lot of money, but like they created like a whole new world, and for not one iota of a second
Did
that
break
fall
that?
apart.
Nope.
Like they committed to it so hard through every single aspect of the production. And
I have to watch it again. Is kind of where I'm at with it.
yeah,
I watched it, and it's like every time I talk about it, my opinion of the movie changes, which is like a funny thing to say.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But like, and it's not like good, bad, and different, but like I can sit in a conversation where people are like, Shape of Water is the best picture ever, and I'll be like, yep, I 100% agree. And then I'll be in the conversation that's the complete opposite of Shape of Water was trash and here's why. And I'll be like, yeah, I agree with that too. I completely agree. So like with Shape of Water specifically, am a complete flip-flopper.
yeah.
I just cannot peg how I feel about Shape of Water.
I think
But I like that about it.
I was so desperate to see sci-fi get like anything at the Oscars,
Yeah.
because it seems like we've had some really cool sci-fi come out recently that's just been like
Completely ignored because
Shat
it's
on.
spectacle.
yeah. Like I was really ready for Mad Max to win Best Picture. a couple
Mad
years
Max
ago.
should have. Oh my
And
god.
I was like all about it, and I was like, but if Revenant wins, that'd be fine. And then it was like not either of those. I was like, okay, well, whatever.
Whatever.
Spotlight was good.
Fine.
It was great. It was really good. But
I didn't see Spotlight.
I
I'll
like
admit
Mad
it.
Max. I like
Mad Max
Tom
was
Hardy.
incredible.
Yeah. So like I was like, man, and I guess that's sci-fi. I would say.
Shape of Water.
Well,
It's
Mad Max.
Mad Max is definitely sci-fi.
Yeah. And
Shape
then
of Water
with
is
Arrival the next year, it also kind of got, and not to say that it deserved Best Picture, like I was upset that it didn't get Best Picture, but I was just like, oh man, it felt like we weren't gonna get anything with sci-fi.
Yeah.
And then Shape of Water, I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, you can
So-
make a weird sci-fi movie and win
Yeah,
something.
that where a chick sexes up a fish and can't talk and all of this cool stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm about it. I was all about it.
Yeah. There's so many things I loved about it. And then there's some things that I think were really weird. And then there's some things that like I could argue for. We could do a whole podcast on Shape of Water, I really feel
Good,
like.
let's do it. Sorry. No. Just kidding.
Oh man. But no, so like that's something that like stuck out to me with your film is like, cause I know I've never met Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
I know of Lucas as a top-notch videographer. I've seen his work. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was honestly intrigued. Like, were they the guys that went, all right, we're going to make a movie. It's going to star us. We've got to hire this dude to make it look good so that we look amazing. Or were they some guys that just happened to know a great videographer?
Yeah, I mean, it all just kind of fell into place.
That's
I mean,
great.
Like
That makes me like you more.
Thank
I'll admit
you.
it.
I'm glad.
I'll admit it.
But I mean, I just straight up, like that was not the priority because
Yeah.
it was like, you know what, we'll just get.
And I love you more
we'll
for
get
it.
something somewhere. I
Yeah.
want to, like, maybe it's just because I didn't know anything about filmmaking. And I was like, we'll find a camera at a garage sale or something if we
Yeah.
need to. But it's like I just was reading all about like what directors did their first time out, and it seemed like every director that's worthwhile, like, had a script and they had an idea, and then they will talk about like, I filmed this on like a 8mm camera that my grandpappy gave me from the like whatever.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that's not like, I'm glad that we have it. I'm super happy that like Lucas helped us out and everything, and
Yeah.
he was part of the team, and we made a movie together.
But you'd have made it no matter what.
It's not like I saw Lucas and I was like, we need to get
We've
that
gotta
guy.
have that guy.
It was just like, that's the guy we knew that was looking to shoot a movie.
That was the guy that wanted to shoot a movie that had a camera. And so
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's great. That makes me, like I said, it makes me like you better.
I'm glad.
Not that I disliked you coming into this, but I was intrigued.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, that's great. And then so Morbus Opus finished, and you were, how ready were you to make the next one? Were you like, fuck yes, this is happening? Or were you like, oh shit, that was hard. Are we doing this? Like what was the next kind of,
I think it's always kind of both.
yeah.
You know, it's like, it was some of like, that was really hard. And there's a reason why it's like really hard to make a good movie. And
Yeah.
like, I learned all of those things. But then I think it kind of helped that Morbus was like intentionally made to help launch Dark Traces, because at that point it was like, well, what was the point if we're not going to just jump into this one?
Yeah.
So I think it was like a good little like gift we gave ourselves in a weird way. Like it was just like motivation after the fact.
Because its
where it's-
purpose wasn't to be the best film ever made. It was to make a film to prove that you could make Dark Traces to yourself.
yeah.
Almost, in a weird way. It was like, well, we can't do Dark Traces until we graduate our own school that we've decided is Morbus Opus.
Right.
That's great. That's
And
really cool.
And so, I mean, like, you know, it having like a relatively successful festival run, and like it getting some, you know, smaller press here and there, like that's just all like candy.
Yeah, because
that's just extra candy.
you've shown Morbus Opus at a lot of places, haven't you? It was at, oh man, where all has it been? It was at
It was at
in
IFC.
Leavenworth.
Yeah. Yeah. It was in
I
Leavenworth.
saw it at the IFC. I saw it at Doc Sunback.
It played in Omaha, I believe. It played in somewhere in Illinois.
Did you do First Friday?
We did a First Friday.
Did First Friday?
It might be playing at a film festival here in Lawrence soon, and then there's a couple others that I don't want to like.
Yeah, you don't want to
I
jinx.
don't want to throw them. Yeah, I don't want to jinx
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I understand. That's where both Dangerous Proposal and Zoink are at. Is like, it's played a couple places, and now we've got like
We'll see.
4 more, and we'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see.
But like that's just all candy, extra
Yeah.
candy. I love that, and it's awesome. But it's just like I just want to make a movie.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what I tell people is, when you're telling any kind of story or like making any kind of art, especially on the independent level, make something that you want to do. Like, make something that you're gonna like.
Yeah.
Because on the indie level, you're probably not gonna make any money off of it.
Yep.
You might break even. That's like
God.
That's like a pretty good.
If you're really lucky.
Like if you're breaking even, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So just make something you like. Like, don't worry about. I mean, if other people like it, that's awesome. But if you made it and you like it, and you're gonna take your time and energy to do it, like, appreciate what you're gonna make.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that helped motivate to create it, is just like, we weren't telling this story just because it seemed like people were going to like it, or because we were possibly going to make money off of it or whatever, or it was going to be successful. We were making it because we all liked it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of was the other driving force behind it.
That's great. That's absolutely great. So are you still doing theater, interested in theater, or is theater kind of been left behind for the new wife that is filmmaking? Well, actually, no, I know you're doing theater because you're going to rehearsal after this, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to a rehearsal after
That's
this.
a dumb question.
I've got a show in the Kansas City Fringe Festival this year, actually.
That you're in, or that you're...
I wrote it, and I am directing it now.
Well, fuck, that's incredible, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. So I do a little bit less theater.
Yeah.
Because I have some, I don't know how many theater people listen to this podcast, but I don't want to I don't want to piss off any theater people, but I have some major issues with theater in its current form, and it's in its current form of storytelling. And my issue is, I think a lot of theater is moving towards trying to compete with Hollywood in terms of spectacle and in terms of what we're seeing coming out of Broadway.
Like Harry Potter 7 or whatever.
Like, yeah, like the Harry Potter thing.
Harry Potter 8.
It's like, and it's just like, if it's gonna be theater, I want to see a story that can only be told in theater.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go to a theater and experience something live and then think, wow, the movie version of that would have been way better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I know the two biggest shows this year at the Tonys are Frozen and SpongeBob the Musical. And I'm sure they're great, but I'm just like, I don't care. Like, mentally, I'm checked out.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll just go watch regular Frozen and regular SpongeBob.
Yeah.
If I wanted that. So, but then there's, like, sometimes where I think theater that gets it and is, like, willing to be a little bit more weird, or not even weird, but, like, different, and actually embrace the fact that it is something that can only exist in the world of theater, like, is almost more powerful than any movie. And I think Hamilton's an example of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's made for theater.
Yeah.
Like, Lin-Manuel didn't make that because he's only capable of making theater. Like, that man can do whatever he wants. He could have made,
and he could have made it in any format.
Yeah, but he
chose the theater because that's where it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my take on theater, and I don't think we'd get enough theater that exists to shine and portray and highlight the strengths that exist in live theater performance. So
that's really cool to hear. And like, I'm with you as a theater guy. I went to school as a theater major as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that is also my background. I have a degree in theater and photography.
Right on.
And then I found filmmaking. So like,
that's the natural conclusion when you put those two together. It's like, just make a movie. You gotta do both.
Exactly. So like, I stumbled upon filmmaking, and like, the more I do it, the more I realize, looking back, that's what I had always wanted to do, but similar to you, had thought was insanely unattainable. Where like a theater, there's community theater, there's like high school theater. I could do theater in high school. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
more immediately right there.
It's a thing that you can do. Like, if I wanted to be in a theater, I could go audition in 6 places probably next week.
Okay.
And I might not get in any of them, but
it's there.
It's there. If I wanted to be in a feature film right now, unless I make it myself, there's like 9 of us in town doing that, maybe on an indie level, and a lot of them are.
It comes around like maybe once a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Tops, like,
exactly.
You know,
and like, some of them are like largely unattainable because of like the way that they cast and like who they're casting specifically, and then other ones are like me, and they're so like insanely indie that you have to be in love with the project to be a part of it. And so like it's harder than a theater commitment where like I could go do theater. You know what I mean?
The tough thing with film is a lot of it's unionized, which is good.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we're not making actors work 15 hours a day for like a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But they are unionized. Casting an actor is just expensive for the movie, even if the actor's not getting paid anything, because you got to costume them and put them in makeup and whatever. So it's like the casting for like a bigger indie film is tough for that reason. You want to make sure
it's
you're
incredibly
get
specific,
right? And you want to make sure you're going to get the exact right.
And the
person.
film has to sell, which the actors are part of that marketing process.
Yep. So like, it doesn't matter how good of an actor I am if there's a dude with like 30 million Instagram followers.
Yep.
Like, if I'm directing that movie, I'm casting that guy.
Yeah.
And even if I want to do it myself, like I'm casting that guy because that guy's got 30 million Instagram followers. Like
exactly, it makes it more sellable, and you have to think about that especially on an indie level. It's just
So I think that's like the one extreme of the indie film.
Yeah.
And then the other extreme is the kind of people like me
that
write movies around their friends.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can write this character and I know that my buddy Cedric can play this character, so I'm just not even going to do auditions because why would I do that?
Yeah, that's like the Toddy brothers. You've met Sam and Andrew, right?
Yeah.
They, before they write a script, Sam has cast the whole script pretty much.
Yeah.
And then he just has to hope that they say yes. That's all it is for him. He's like, this will be this person, this will be that person, this will be me, this will be Andrew, this will probably be you, and like, there we go. And so like, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of things like, obviously we never saw a casting call for Morbus Opus. You know what I mean? Like, Dark Traces, I doubt there was much of a casting call.
Yeah, so we actually did do one for Dark Traces, but it was for, I think Lenny was the largest character we casted for.
Yeah. Did you not know?
Casted for?
Did you not know Steven before that, or?
We'd kind of like seen him around, but it's not like we didn't write the role.
Yeah, you didn't write that role for Steven.
Well, we did open auditions for.
That's
for
cool.
Everything that wasn't Cedric and I.
Okay.
But, so I mean, that was almost like a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And then like some of those people, I would like to come do my next project, and whatever. That's kind of how you build your network. I think.
Yeah.
But it's like, even then, it's not like we were casting the whole film from scratch.
Yeah.
So.
And like I don't know. Do you pay people on your sets, or is it still very like incredibly indie? Or do you not want to talk about it? You don't have to if you don't want to. I'll admit, because I don't. I'll say it.
Are you talking about actors or just anybody?
Sure, I'm intrigued. If you're willing to talk about it, is it
So okay, let me put it this way. I don't like the idea of people working for free.
Yeah.
Just straight up. So I will try to offer something.
Yeah.
Like I'm always gonna feed people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like try to bring in cookies sometimes or something like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like monetary compensation, if that happens, a lot of times that's gonna happen on the back end.
Yeah, it's got to be like the things
up.
that you can't do yourself. Like I can't compose a film, so if I have to pay someone, I'm gonna pay a composer.
Yeah.
Because like I can't do it.
Right. And I mean,
and like, yeah, I would love to. And I think like the actors get a little bit more intrinsically out of it, just from being in it. Cause it can add to your reel. It can add to your resume. It can add to exposure. And like, I hate to say I'm paying an exposure because like my exposure is, but at this point, that's where I'm at. Cause I'm also making no money on any of the things I make.
Yeah. And let me put it this way. I don't think anybody that has worked with us or is currently working with us or will work with us in the near future is doing it to make a shit ton of money.
Exactly.
I think they're doing these people are doing it because either they like me, probably not that, or they want to do a project, or they like the idea of the film or whatever. Now, like I said, I don't want people to work for free, so like I'll try to make some money. Like we've got this crowdfund campaign going on right now for Dark Traces. Go on to Indiegogo, check out Dark Traces short film, and you could watch the trailer there. But once we do that, like I'm not trying to profit off this. I'm
Yeah,
like, if
exactly.
anything, I'm losing money. Like,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel. Like, if anybody's going to lose out, I want it to be me.
Same. I agree with that.
Because I don't want other people to put their time and effort into this and then get nothing.
That makes sense.
At the very least, like, I think sometimes, even if I give somebody just like a small amount of money, it's like, okay, this person's not taking advantage of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
they
like,
can recognize the appreciation that you have for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so people, it kind of depends on where I am with that person. Like, if I'm really good friends with somebody that I'm working with, I feel they're lower on the priority just because I know that person knows that I'm not trying to take advantage of them.
I'm not taking advantage of them. Yeah.
You know, and, maybe I'll like buy them a beer, or like buy them a meal or something at some point in time.
Yeah.
But other people that maybe I'm not that tight with, I just want to be like, look, I'm not a dick. I'm not trying to screw you over and whatever. Yeah. So that was a really
I don't think anybody that knows you could think you're a dick. You're a very sweet guy.
You would be surprised. No, I don't know. We'll just get a panel of people and
I'll make a poll.
There we go. Do a Twitter poll.
Just a Twitter poll. Who thinks Ben Schatzel is a dick? And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, great. Just never show it to me, no matter what the results are. I don't want to know.
You need it for marketing. You need to know if you need to change your branding.
That's a good point, actually.
Rebrand Ben Schatzel.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. All right.
Or lean harder into it. Like, if it's, like, far on Ben Schatzel's a dick, you just go straight for it and just lean into, I am a dick.
Yeah, no, I think that's the worst place to be, is just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Where people are just like, I just never know what to expect for him. Like,
is he going to be rude to me, or is he going to be nice? I can't really figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be unpredictable. Whatever it I just want to, like, it all to be there, be like, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I'm also, so this is a weird
very
thing.
Abstract conversation we're having right now.
Talking about paying actors, though, and this is, like, probably my own, I don't know, rationalization for a lot of it. But in a weird way, coming from theater, I live in a world where community theater is a big thing. And a lot of people do community theater for the love of doing theater. And so I expect that there are people out there that want to do film for the love of doing film. And like, at this point, that's what me and Lila used to joke all the time, that like, we're doing community film. It's like, it's a bunch of people in a hometown making a movie in their hometown. You know what I mean? And they're showing it pretty much in our hometown. Like, that's about all it is at this point, is we're in community film. Yeah. And like, it's a good place to like learn your craft and practice and try to get better and
have fun.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's, cause it's a weird thing, cause you can do theater and a lot of people would come out to be in a play that you're not paying them to be in.
Yeah. I think,
but there's a lot more gratification.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah. I think, I think actors are a little bit lower on my like priority list. If you were going to give me like a sum of money and be like, just
who are you giving it to?
Yeah, because very clearly I do not have money, so this would have to be like a lottery ticket saying give this to people. But I would say, like, I think actors are a little bit lower on the on the totem pole. Only for me, because I came from an acting background, and I never really expected compensation for work. I was just like, I just want to do this
act
to like get a reel together, and like this is just what like I want to do. I want to be here. So coming at it from that angle, I'm just like, you know, I feel like these people are getting something out of it, and I think I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. Well, in the same thing, in that same community theater and theater background that we both have, like in a lot of community theaters, like the director gets paid. The script is paid for because you have to send, like, you have to get the rights. Usually your technicians get paid. Some of like the crew doesn't, but like you know what I mean? There's like there's a line where they do, and then the actors just don't, because they get the experience of being on stage and like doing all that. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick to actors. Like, I'm an actor myself. I love getting paid. It's great to get paid for a project, but it's also just great to act. And like, I love being on set, and if it's people who I love being with too, I would do it tomorrow.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? There are probably, man, there's a fuck ton of people in town that they called me today and were like, "Do you want to do a project?" I wouldn't even ask, "Is it paid or not?" I would just be like, "Hell yeah. Like, that sounds like a bunch of fun. Let's go Let's go play. Let's do some shit.
And that's
Like,
that's how I feel too. And the other thing is like, there's so much money in terms of like video and film, but very little of it is in narrative work. So it's like,
yes.
you know what I mean? Like you can make so much money like going and selling toothpaste on like a commercial that's only exists on YouTube. Like you could do a 15-second spot for some toothpaste and probably get $1,200 for it. But like you could act in a like a full indie feature and you're not going to make that kind of money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of my logic is like, I think most people that are, you know, getting into like narrative style films,
if you want to be in a narrative, if you're willing to do that and that's your passion, you're going to do it.
Right. Like if you're looking for money,
there's other stuff.
Don't go to narrative style film. But if you
narrative indie film, especially.
Narrative indie film that's
in Kansas City.
Here in accessible. Right, yeah, exactly. Like we just keep putting this through the spaghetti strainer. Yeah, and it's like that's so from that angle, I'm like, you can get paid as an actor.
Yes.
Just not doing a 13-minute short film.
Yeah.
With low budget and everything
with
else.
Ben Schatzel.
With Ben Schatzel. Like go sell toothpaste.
Don't do IX Productions feature film if you're trying to get paid as an actor. Like just don't. If you want to have a good time on set though, make some jokes, maybe have some fun, like come play.
Make a movie, yeah.
Let's make a movie. We'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So are you guys well, Dark Traces isn't over. You're still making Dark Traces.
Dark Traces is very. I mean, I guess you could decide how close to, and it's very close though. I think you can tell. Like it is very close.
Yeah. Do you don't edit though? Do you edit? I don't know what you do.
And neither do I.
I've just talked to you for like an hour. I don't even know what you do. What do you do?
So I don't edit. The primary editors on this were Lucas and Cedric. I went in for like
does
one editing.
Cedric edits?
Cedric does edit. Yeah,
that's cool.
Cedric is just really good at everything. Basically.
Don't you hate those people?
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell, man? Yeah. Andrew Retractive, like, fuck you.
That's how I feel like Andrew Toddy. Andrew Toddy is just great at everything he does. He can pick up a guitar, he can play it, he can go make a movie, he can paint. Like, I hate you.
Yeah.
I don't like you.
I hate Cedric even more because he's, like, super nice all the time. I'm like, God damn it. At least be mean.
Same with Andrew. Yeah. He's just such a sweet guy. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. It's like, it's so hard to yeah.
You're better at everything, and you're just a better person than me.
Yeah, like you fuck you.
Yeah.
So I went in for like one editing session. I was like, I think, can we try this and this and this? And most of them were terrible
how much
ideas.
input do you have editing wise, or do you have? Well, because you're a producer kind of.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty collaborative process. As
the not director, do you kind of step away, or do you?
Okay, so this kind of goes with the payment thing somewhat that we were talking about.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if people are going to come on and help us make my film, I want those people to have as much creative freedom in whatever their like line of work is.
Yeah.
So that they are investing themselves somehow.
That makes sense.
So I don't want to,
you want it to be artistically fulfilling for everyone.
Exactly. Because that's most of what we're offering.
Yep.
So I don't want to be like, it needs to be this, and it needs to be this, and it needs to be this. Because, first of all, I think it's a better movie if there's multiple cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Like,
obviously, there's a point where there's too many cooks in the kitchen, but
like, everyone has...
You can't just have one chef.
A specific art form that they're good at. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't expect to be the best at all of the aspects of filmmaking. It takes a village to make a movie.
Right.
And, like, obviously that their inputs and their skills are important and worth... talking about.
Exactly. And I mean, like, so with Alex, for example, who's doing the music, I went to him and I threw him like a couple examples. One was from, I believe, the openings track from the film Blood Simple. One was a track from Blade Runner. One was a track.
That sounds exactly the right genre.
Yeah. Those two. There was a track from a video game called The Wolf Among Us that I sent him. So I kind of sent him these three and then we met up and I kind of talked through it with him like a very tiny amount. Yeah. And he's like, okay, got it.
Alex is amazing because that's what we did for Zoink. Like we talked with him once because we never met when we decided we were going to ask Alex to do it. We'd heard his work and some stuff and I was like, all right, we're going to talk to him. So we talked to Alex once and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. This is what it'll take to do it. And I was like, great. We sent him the movie. He watched it. He invited us over to watch it with him. We watched it together, talked for maybe 20 minutes, and then we were like, all right, cool. he went away and he made pretty much the whole score.
Right.
And there was like 3 tracks that we were like, that needs to be a little different. But besides that, he just nailed it out.
But for like a, what is it, like an 80-minute film? 70 to 80-minute film you got? So, I mean, that's crazy. Like,
it's insane.
Maybe 10 minutes of music being something that you didn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even that you didn't like, but just that
not
something
even
different.
10 minutes. There was like, one of them was a 15-second stinger. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, so it was, and I was just being nitpicky about it because it just, the moment didn't feel right in the edit of the movie. And then the stinger didn't help make that moment a little more palpable. Because I just feel like there's one moment in the movie that I just feel like doesn't transition right. And it might have been we filmed it wrong. I think it's really we scripted it wrong. But you know what I mean? It's just like there's just a moment that doesn't, it just doesn't, it's not a perfect moment. And so I was like, we need music to make that perfect moment, that unperfect moment, feel at least okay.
Yeah, and I will say it's very nice having a very talented composer.
It makes the movie so different.
And yeah, and I think, honestly, I think I have benefited from that potentially more than you, because, I mean, we had Alex on board for this project when all there was a script.
Yeah.
And so going into it, we were like, okay, some of these elements we don't know, but we can just leave this room to breathe, and he can fill it with music. And in editing, it's like, we don't know what's going on here, but we're just going to add some time, let it breathe, not try to over-edit this, and let the music build and let things happen.
Watching Dark Traces in the edit that it's in right now, I was like, oh, I can't wait till there's Alex's music in this.
Because you could kind of tell, like, there's some...
You know where you can feel the moments where you've decided you're going to get it in the music. And I'm stoked to see it again.
I think that's... Yeah, so am I. Like, at this point, I'm almost done with, with whatever my involvement is of this.
Yeah.
Aside from, small stuff on the back end. But, yeah, and I don't know if you saw the film at the Doc Sunback Film Festival that about Snuffy Walden, the composer. And
no.
Okay, so he's a composer.
I pretty much missed Sunback this year.
Oh, that's
which was
right. I forgot you were gone on Saturday.
Yeah, I was at a wedding all day on Saturday.
So he's this composer that has worked on like multiple Aaron Sorkin shows and all sorts of different movies and stuff, and he's like a highly regarded composer in Hollywood. And so there was a documentary at the film festival about him.
Oh, okay.
And it was really interesting because they had people like Martin Sheen and Aaron Sorkin and all of these different like filmmakers and TV producers talking about this composer. And Aaron Sorkin literally said, he's like, I just will have things where there's nothing written and I will just have a couple moments and I'll let Snuffy do whatever he wants.
That's great.
And I'm like, that's honestly awesome. And like when I watched movies like that kind of inspired Dark Traces, like Blade Runner and Blood Simple and Nightcrawler and some of those like aesthetic
Nightcrawler, what a good movie. Oh man.
But I noticed that a lot of my favorite moments in those movies is when like very little is happening plot wise, but there's just a little bit of world building and some really cool music and there's some fun lights happening, and I'm just like, wow, this is cool. And it like gives my brain a second to reset and then go back into the story.
Like I said, I'm really excited to see Dark Traces when it's done. So right now you're funding to send it to festivals. Mostly it's
primarily to send it to festivals goal. And when do you think it's going to be like? When is that starting in your mind? Well, when's the fundraising end? So we've got basically another month of fundraising. And,
cool.
I mean, there's a couple other costs associated with just the film festivals, as you always know.
Yes.
It's not cheap to make a movie, but
it's not. I understand why movies take so much money and why studios are so concerned about whether or not they work or not, and whether or not they do well.
You're always performing at high risk, almost no matter what level of filmmaking you're at. It's almost always a high risk.
Yep.
But we got about another month of that. I think we're officially at like 36 days left, 37 days left.
Awesome.
On that campaign. This
will come out in like a weekish probably, so you've got like 30 days left.
30 days left. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I just want as many people to see it as possible. And I love.
That's how I feel too. Like I would love to make money and be financially stable from my art. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I just want people to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want people to see it and enjoy it. I don't even care if, like, they think it's the best movie ever. I just want them to, like, most of my movies, I want them to feel good when they finish watching it.
I'm probably a little bit more narcissistic about it than that, where I'm like, if it plays at a film festival and people go see it, then I can make them sit there in a chair for 13 minutes, and probably most of those people are going to be too polite to get up and walk out in the middle of it. So, God damn it, I'm going to make them sit in a chair for 14 minutes.
Yeah,
13, 14 minutes.
That's nice. I mean,
You know?
I understand. It's the most captivated your audience can be, which there is nothing. There's nothing better than watching your film in like in a theater or like at a festival, watching the screen, because like you do, you've got that audience's attention for that amount of time. Mm-hmm. And like, I make comedies, so for me, there's nothing better than feeling those laughters in a theater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the best. That's the best feeling I've ever experienced.
Right.
So I just want to keep doing that. That's the goal. But, like, I have very little control over that. I don't have the money to four-wall it. I don't have the money to put it in a theater. So I just want to put it on the internet and let people, like, giggle. I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's after Dark Traces though? Are you already working something else, or
so we got a short? We actually are filming a short tomorrow, but that one's gonna. That's gonna be like a micro short, so it'll be like a 2-minute, 3-minute thing.
Yeah.
And once we finish that, that'll be immediately accessible on our Facebook page.
That's cool.
On our
So your Stack Deck Studios, the next plan is to kind of start building a following of sorts.
Yeah, I want to get a little bit more stuff, because I feel like it's maybe frustrating for some people. I feel like I meet people all the time who are like, how do I watch your movie? And I'm like, well, you can't. And so I hate saying that.
What I've started doing with that, because I did that for 5 years. So this is my little bit of advice, even though it's like meh, and it's probably, you've thought of it and you don't care. My little bit of advice is I used to be like, it's not anywhere to see it. My new thing is I'll give them like a business card, or I'll like ask for their email or something and be like, I'll send you a link. I'll send you the link to Zoink. I'll send you the link to Dangerous Proposal. If you really want to see it, if you're like a friend of mine, or if you're a filmmaker and you're like, if you care enough to ask me to see my movie, I'll send you a link. I don't care. Right. You know what I mean?
And that, I mean, I'll do the same thing there. Yeah. Where I'm more than happy to, people that I know personally. But it just bothers me that we don't have anything immediately accessible right now, because things are on the festival circuit and doing other things. Yeah. So,
it is annoying, because like, I'll tell people like, I make feature films. I've made 6 of them. People are like, where can I see them? I'm like, you can if you maybe email me. I'll send you one. Right. But like, I don't want to send you all 6, and some of them I think aren't great. So like, some of the cast hasn't seen them. I don't know. So
anyways, we're doing that tomorrow.
That's great. That's awesome.
Be a little 2-minute 2-minute, 3-minute, and it's gonna be our first comedy.
Cool.
So I think it's gonna be really funny. But then, I've got a project that is gonna be very near and dear to my heart, filming likely late September, early October.
Awesome.
And it's going to be called Supreme Extreme. The plot of the movie is just as wacky as the title sounds. The whole thing's going to take place in the 90s. It's going to be an action comedy romp.
Awesome.
Literally, the whole plot for the movie is there's a guy that he's a pizza delivery guy who delivers pizzas on roller skates. And he's got the greatest pizza in the world, and everybody's trying to take it from him, and he's trying to deliver it to the correct person.
That's awesome.
And so there's going to be boss battle fights. I just talked to a visual effects coordinator yesterday who's going to help us.
Wow.
We're going to like have.
So you've got a lot going on.
We got a lot going on with this one. I've got like a local like pop punk band that's going to come do an original song, and like kind of be like Blink-180, like a Blink-182 type thing. So it's just going to be chock full of 90s references, and it's just going to be something for me to have fun with.
That's great. That sounds incredible.
And that's actually what I was mentioning to you earlier, because I want,
dope.
If you're free and interested, I want you to play Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. That'd be great.
We'll find you a Silent Bob somewhere.
That'd be a bunch of fun. I would love that. 100% yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wrote Jay and Silent Bob in there, and I was like, damn it, I don't know a Jay. And then like I literally thought of you, and I was like, Patrick is Jay.
I would love to be Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
So that's the next big fish.
So that's the next thing that you're doing, though.
That's the next big thing.
That's awesome. That's great. So you've got a lot in the works for that already. That's very especially if you're filming soon. You're You're already planning it, obviously. You met with
we're kind of early pre-production is where
That's
I would
great.
put it. We're about a little over 2 months from photography.
But you guys are cranking these things out.
Trying to.
Like, that's awesome.
I think, I'd like to get 4 films done in our first 2 years. Like 4 major shorts.
That's incredible. Because, like, I know a lot of people who have, like, made their one short. You know what I mean? And it took them forever, and nobody's ever seen it, or, like, 10 people have seen it at a festival, and it's just, you know what I mean? It's nice to see guys that are just making shit. Like, you're out there just doing
we're just
stuff.
having fun with it. You know, we're not doing this for any other reason, honestly.
That's great.
It's fun. It's what I want to be doing. So yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Hey, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
If you are interested in checking out Dark Traces, you can go to the Stack Deck Studios Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And we've got all sorts of links on there, so you can check out some more info.
Awesome. Yeah. I do an intro, outro. I'll plug it. I'll
awesome.
plug the hell out of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
Ben, I'm still waiting for the Supreme Extreme phone call. I would love to work with you. And, you know, I understand if it isn't happening, or if you recast me because I took forever to put this episode out, or whatever. If you don't, that's fine. I still love you. I absolutely love you. Had a great conversation. Like he said, check them out. There's Stack Deck Studios on Facebook. Like I said, you can watch Morbus Opus now. It's out now. It wasn't when we had our conversation. It is now. And keep an eye out for Dark Traces coming soon, hopefully to a film festival in your area. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. And like IX Productions on Facebook. And love each other. If you're not going to do anything else, just do that. Do that one thing.